Hi, everyone. I think we're going to get started, if that's okay with all you guys. Can we get a nice warm round of applause for our Mets pitchers on the stage today? We got David Peterson, Reed Garrett, Christian Scott, and Sean Manaea. I'm going to be hosting today's panel. My name is Jack. You might have seen me on your Instagram screaming about Mets baseball before because they did a lot of cool stuff last October, so I'm sure you were all screaming as well. This is Pitching 201. We're going to have a nice little 30-minute session talking about the ins and outs of these guys' seasons. They did such a wonderful job last year. Sean, I'd love to start with you first. Congratulations on coming back to the Mets, 3-year deal. Happy to see you here. I guess the easiest question to ask, what was it about being a 2024 Met that made you want to come back?
Just the adventure of the whole season. I don't think we could have started out the season any worse than we did. And, being a new guy coming to New York and hearing about, the craziness of everything, and then kind of living those things, and then everyone just kind of pulling together. And, obviously what we did last year was an incredible accomplishment. And I don't know, everyone that was on this team was just in for the long run, and we all had a great time doing it. And, once we start to get our feet underneath us, I think we, all realized that. And just the people here, the staff, the organization has been so cool to me and my family. And I think it was an easy choice to be able to sign back here. And just super happy to be back.
Happy to have you. You mentioned the adventure of the season as well. I was at National League Division Series Game 3. It was your start against the Philadelphia Phillies.
Cool.
I'm not going to show any video of me at the game because I was enjoying some of the fine beverages here at Citi Field. And, I was a little off my rocker. But part of that was because you pitched one of the best games of your career. You blew a kiss to the sky and the crowd afterward. Can you talk about a little bit about the emotions of that game, what you were going through, and how you channeled that into such an incredible performance?
Yeah. I guess for anybody that doesn't know, that was, I just found out that my aunt had passed away that same day. So coming to the field, my wife had informed me, and it was, I didn't really, have time to kind of process everything. And I don't know. I think she was looking down over me during that game, and I felt like I had to pay some respects to her, and it was definitely a beautiful moment, and I'm just glad I could have a performance like that. And
absolutely.
That, so it was cool.
David, round of applause for Sean. Absolutely. You had to embrace a lot of different roles down the stretch as well. In the last week of the season, you were used as a reliever. You got the save in the third game of the wild card game, and then you were back in the bullpen starting some games. Was it difficult to bounce between roles like that, or was it kind of just like, the team needs me here, I'm going to do my best to fulfill that?
Yeah, I think we were kind of just, when we got to October, it was like anything that we needed to do to win, and that was the whole goal. And it wasn't too challenging. I'd been in the bullpen before, I had some experience, and so I was able to lean on that. But Mendy and Hef were great with me in terms of communicating. Here's the plan, here's what could happen. So I kind of knew all the different scenarios. But yeah, you get the ball in October in the playoffs, doesn't matter what role you're in. It was an awesome ride, like Sean said, and to do it with the group that we had was very special. So anytime I got to be a part of that and pitch, I take that opportunity and run with it.
Were you surprised when they asked you to pitch the 9th inning in that game in Milwaukee? Because I believe that was your first career save. And how different was it being, the closer for a change?
Yeah, I wasn't super surprised because Mendy, like I said, he was very good at communicating, and I knew that they had quite a few lefties at the top of their lineup, and they had kind of let us know prior, if we're in a spot in the 8th where there's righties, I'll probably go to Sugar, and if there's lefties, be looking at you. So, he did a good job of kind of telling me what might happen, what will happen. And so I felt like I was able to kind of prepare for anything, whether it was going into the 3rd or going into the 9th. And so, it was fun to get the save there in Milwaukee. And, it was funny. We were in the bullpen warming up, and I remember Sugar closed out the 8th, and Mendy called down, and Rosie, our bullpen coach, looked at me and he just said, "You got the ninth." And it was like, there was no question of if we got there or whatever. Like, there was just a feeling, I think, in the group that something was about to happen. And so, that gave me some confidence in the moment as well.
Absolutely. A really huge breakout season for you, one of your best as a big leaguer. Reed, you also had a terrific season last year. Round of applause for Reed Garrett. Massive piece of the bullpen last year, had a terrific year. I wanted to ask you just kind of about your journey getting to the Mets. It was kind of tumultuous. You were a 14th round draft pick. You had a lot of years in the minor leagues. You bounced between teams, and then you found your role on this team and really, really shined. Was there ever like any doubt about, establishing yourself as a premier major league reliever, or did you always kind of have that belief in yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the journey hasn't been straight by any means. I spent some time overseas, got Rule 5'd in 2019, and then DFA'd again, and claimed and DFA'd again. But I think that, for me, getting to the Mets is, I've been asked this question. I feel like I got to the right place at the right time. And we have a great staff here who instilled that I could be great in me. They gave me that confidence they believed in me. So I had always believed in myself, and I'd always been trying to prove people that I believed in myself to get them to believe in me as well. And it kind of got here, and I had that belief from people knowing that I could do the job. It's special to be in a place where they want you and they want you to succeed. You're not just coming up to fill a spot and it's just all right, hey, here's your chance. Go out there and do it. So I don't think I ever lost doubt in myself. I had always told myself that I was going to play until they ripped the jersey off me. So luckily that hasn't happened yet, and don't plan on it happening anytime soon. So
got to get that quote on the shirt. Play until they rip the jersey off me. I remember, the tough 0-5 start. You got an opportunity against the Tigers. I think you struck out the side. You really looked sharp. And that whole first month, you became the guy in the bullpen. And then there were, some bumps in the road a little bit later down the line. So I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with, I always wondered about this because I'm a big stats guy when it comes to baseball. How do you deal with the volatility of stats as a reliever? Because you could be great for 2 months and then you have one bad day and it's almost like the whole thing comes undone. Does that get in your head at all, or do you use it as a thing that kind of drives you?
I think I just try to not look at stats. I think it's more of all right, what can I do to prepare for today? And what can I do to be as prepared to succeed for today? And no matter the situation, like you talked about it at the beginning of the season, I was throwing 2-3 innings. And then it came to a point where guys were hurt and I ended up getting thrown into trying to save some games, and that's completely different. But I think it kind of gets back to if your bad days aren't as bad as they are and the good days aren't as good as they seem. So I think if you just kind of stay as level as you can, for me, that's been the biggest thing of if I stay level, then no matter what happens, tomorrow's a new day and we'll try it again.
Reed, I'm starting to think that you should maybe write a book or something. Some really quotable lines. One last thing for you. My co-host on our Mets podcast, Jerry Blevins, who's a former pitcher for the Mets, he talked about how much he loved the fact that Carlos Mendoza would constantly shift guys in and out of roles when it seemed like things weren't working or things were getting flat. And you were especially a case of that because you were middle relief, you were a closer, you were setup. But when it came down to the postseason, you were once again in these high leverage spots. So I guess I wanted to ask you about kind of your growth throughout the 6 months of the season, losing that role and then regaining it late. Did you feel like you had grown as a pitcher through that process? Yeah,
I think so. I think growth is the big term there. Taking the opportunities to learn from situations that happen, and how I responded to trying to make it seem like the ninth inning was the tip of the mountain. And it's just well, if you take the inning away from it, you're still trying to close out whatever inning that it is. So you're trying to close out the second inning or the fifth, or you come in with a guy on second and third and you have to get one out and you're trying to close that inning out. I think that's what I was trying to do, was just go out there and do my job in that given situation and close whatever inning it was, whether it's the third or the ninth, didn't really matter. I was just trying to treat it as, this is an opportunity to save the fifth today. So let's go out there and do it.
Nicely said. Christian, you were one of the few rookies on the 2024 Mets, a team with, so much youthful energy, life, concerts after the game and stuff like that, Grimace as the mascot. It's weird to think about the fact that most of these guys, they've been around for a little bit. So I wanted to ask you first, kind of what was it like being one of the few rookies on a team full of guys that have been in MLB before, and did you feel like you gained a lot of wisdom from being in the clubhouse?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, I feel super humbled and blessed to come up with the team that we had last year. We had an unbelievable pitching staff. Everybody was really pulling for each other. Even with the starters with Sevy, Q, Sean, Petey, even Kodai, especially guys in the bullpen like Otto, Reed here. Really just being able to help me and show me the ropes early on. It's like Reed's kind of saying, the good days are never as good as they are and the bad days are never as bad as they are, and really trying to find that middle ground and also maintain your confidence, because for me, having confidence when you're doing good is easy, right? But when you're not doing as well, having that confidence is a little bit more difficult. So I would say at this level, that was something too that I thought Sean did a great job of explaining to me early on, that there's gonna be highs, there's gonna be lows, but it's about the day to day, and you're gonna come in and give it everything you have. Every pitch is a different pitch, and no matter what happens, just go out there and compete to the best of my ability.
You made your major league debut in Tampa Bay, kind of close to home. I remember that first inning, the bases loaded, nobody out. Can you take me back to that moment? You're making your debut. It's your first time facing major league hitting. You're in this dangerous scenario. What was going through your brain in that moment?
A little bit of it was this is kind of sucks right now.
I don't blame you.
But I think for me, the biggest point in that game was I threw a changeup to a Rosarena. For me, I've never really had a lot of confidence in my changeup. Coming up through the system, not throwing it a lot, and for me to be able to throw that in that count to set him up for a fastball, I think that did a lot for me internally. Being able to show hey, this is probably the biggest moment of my life, and being able to execute that pitch in that location helped a lot for my confidence. And I was really able to take that through the rest of the outing, and also just riding the wave of these guys in the dugout, riding the wave of Nito when he was back there. I thought they did an unbelievable job calling the game. We were super prepared for it, and just coming back, taking the highs from the game and taking the lows from the game, and just learning from it.
One last thing I wanted to ask you, kind of going back to the first question. One thing my co-host Jerry talks a lot about is things that it takes to be a big leaguer. It's one thing to get the call and start playing and play well, but there are certain intricacies that are kind of unspoken when you get to the MLB level. Did you learn anything this year about kind of what it takes to be a big leaguer, whether it's in the clubhouse, training-wise, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, taking care of your body obviously is a huge one. Obviously, 162 games it's not easy for sure, and also just being consistent in the day to day. Right, every day is a new game, but you also just got to be consistent as you possibly can, day in, day out. Whether you had a bad game or a good game, be the same guy in the clubhouse, same guy in the training room. Get your work done, and just be consistent throughout. And a lot of good things happen from that.
Well said. Sean, you had some changes halfway through the year. There was a delivery change for you, which was kind of unforeseen. I feel like I haven't really seen that from a pitcher, midway through a season, a good season as well. You said it was from watching Chris Sale pitch against the Mets. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that was exactly what happened. I've watched him since 2010 when he first came up, and always been a huge fan of him. But seeing him up close and kind of in that era, I just felt like I needed to change something, and something after watching it was like, oh, let's just try this out, and then we just went from there.
I wanted to ask, was it weird to implement such a drastic change halfway through the season? Were there any nerves the first time you whipped out this new delivery, or did it kind of just always feel natural?
It felt natural, practicing and warming up. It actually felt like this is where I wanted to throw, or how I wanted to throw this whole time. But yeah, when I the first game against the Twins, the first leading up to it, I was definitely really anxious and nervous about I've had these mechanics this whole season up to this point, and now I'm just trying something completely different. And after the first couple of I'd say just first inning, I was like, all right, this felt good. Everything felt fine. Didn't seem like I was getting outside myself or anything like that. And then we just, kind of settled in then and just, went from there.
Safe to say the change worked out.
Yes, I was very happy with the results with that. So.
David, I also wanted to ask you. I've been, watching you pitch for many, many years now as a Mets fan, and when I think of David Peterson striking a batter out, I think slider. I think of that wipeout coming from the left side slider, and I noticed that your pitch mix kind of changed this year. Was that sort of a conscious effort? Was it in communication with Jeremy Hefner, or was it kind of just you felt like you were evolving as a starting pitcher?
Yeah, I think not much has kind of changed in the repertoire. I think it's more of the usage. And we've gone through some ups and downs with the sliders. And so I think it was nice for me to have the changeup to really rely on a lot this year. The curveball really came along. It kind of was always my last pitch. I would throw it here and there, but felt like there was times where I was really able to use it to put guys away. And so yeah, I think having 4 or 5 pitches helps. When there's one that's struggling, you can kind of continue to work on it and trying to get it back to where I knew it needed to be and what I wanted it to look like. But it was nice to have those other pitches to give them a different look, and it makes everything better when you can kind of make everything look the same out of the hand and then be pretty different as it gets closer. So it was definitely up and down. Worked a lot with Hef on it, and I feel like, we got it back to where we wanted it, and then we were able to use all 5 pitches as we saw fit with the matchup and the sequencing and all that.
So this one's kind of open-ended for anyone who wants to take a stab at it. So for those, if you guys don't know, our company, we have a warehouse, and we play like blitzball in there, and sometimes there's like crowds of like 30 people, so it gets pretty intense, it gets pretty loud in there. But you guys were playing in front of like 50,000 people this past October, and you played some of the best baseball of the year. So I want to ask you guys across the board, how in the world were you able to manage and like channel that adrenaline? Because whenever my blood gets pumping like that, I can't throw a strike, and you guys are doing it with actual baseballs in games that actually matter. So what was that process like? Because I know it was the first postseason trip for you and for Reed and Sean. You had brief moments in there as well, but this was the first serious postseason run for you guys. Did you have to prep differently, or was it kind of just going through the motions and using it to your advantage?
Well, step one is freak out. Realize that this is the biggest stage and the kind of like the pinnacle of the sport, but once you come down from that, then you're like, oh, it's just like any other game. Obviously it's kind of like managing the the stress and the anxiety and all that stuff, but when you really look at it, I faced the Phillies before, I faced the Dodgers before, I faced the Brewers before, I just faced the Brewers, so it was like just because this game obviously means everything, I'm not trying to, like, the energy is already there, so I'm not trying to, like, I think I would have problems of, like, de-escalating or, like, being too far down here and then not being, like, amped up. And then there's also a problem of, like, being too high. So, there's always, like, a happy medium with everything. And, you definitely don't need to find the energy because it's, it's definitely going to be there. So just going out there and doing what you normally do, just trying to just pitch and you just go out there and do your thing.
I think to build off of what Sean said, externally I think there's a lot made of the playoffs, and we obviously know the severity of the situation and what we're playing for, but I think internally in the clubhouse, it kind of stayed the same. It was, we have one game today, that's the only game we can go and win. We know who we're facing. Like Sean said, we faced these guys before. It's not like some mystery team came out of anywhere, and I think it was just taking it one day at a time, sticking together, playing the same game that we've always played, and have fun with it. It's like Sean said, you've got that extra energy, that extra boost in the stadium, and it was a lot of fun. I think it wasn't the run that we wanted in 2022, but I was able to get that experience, and kind of use that just in terms of knowing what the atmosphere was going to look like, and being able to kind of compare it to some other things like the Subway Series and some of the other games that we've played that have been big and loud. And
I can speak on like as a team and then myself personally, but as a team, it felt like we played playoff games for like the entire last 2 months of the season. So I think like we were excited to continue to play baseball. I think that helped us in the moment when we needed to like, all right, hey, we've been here, we've been competing in playoffs since August. For myself, when we played, the first appearance that I had in the playoffs was against Milwaukee, and it was like, I got a guy out, Alvy threw a guy out at second base, and then I struck Reese Hoskins out. And I yelled the loudest I'd ever yelled in my life.
It was my favorite Reed scream of the year.
And I was like, all right, I'm glad that one's done. And I came back to, if you look at it, Alvy's like saying, hey man, like you might have to go back out, relax. As I'm walking off the field, and I was like, well, maybe, but yeah. So I think that one, like getting the first one out of the way, it was huge, and like it went well. Like I'm thankful that it went well, but throughout the rest of the postseason, it was like, all right, like. Yeah, the crowds got a little bit louder and a little bit bigger, but after getting the first one out of the way, it felt like, all right, it's still the same game, still the same hitters. Let's just see how long we can play for.
Well put by all you guys. I had this question for all you guys. This could be absolutely nothing, but it's something I've always wondered about, and now I'm sitting next to 4 Mets pitchers, so I have to ask it. Do you guys have like a favorite mound that you like to pitch off of? I've always wondered, because like I know that all mounds kind of come the same, but like is there like a stadium that you pitch in where you're like, I'm going to dominate today. I love pitching here. Or is it kind of just the motions, always the same?
I mean, I love Houston's mound, and the Yankee Stadium mound is actually really, really nice too.
Let's keep that in this room, okay? Let's not say that anywhere else.
I also love City Fields.
Perfect. Nice save.
Yeah. No, I mean, both those mounds, I mean, they have, I don't know, just like the clay kind of like, sticks and just like the height of it. I don't know. It feels nice. One place I absolutely hate though is
I wasn't going to ask, but I was hoping you'd say it.
I'll just say it. Boston. Just something about that place. Is my nightmare. So, yeah, I'll just throw that out there.
I think Tampa Bay's got a really good mound too. Ours here is great, but I don't think I have one where I'm like, man, I don't want to pitch there. Like coming up through the minors, like you have mounds there that it's like, this stinks, but it's a little bit different in the big leagues. They're all pretty good, but yeah, I think we all have our favorites.
Yeah, there's great mounds for sure, but I would say for Tampa. Well, Tampa's...
You're a little biased, right?
Had a great mound, yeah. And then City as well. I mean, just coming out here, and Miami's got a good mound as well, good slope. But I would say, again, too, all the big league mounds are great. Obviously coming through minor leagues, you throw on some good ones, some bad ones. But yeah, there's a lot of these mounds are great. I mean, the grounds crew does an unbelievable job, especially at home plate on the mound, just to help make our jobs a little bit easier. So we're super grateful for them for sure.
Yeah, I think I think our grounds crew does a great job, and I think there's something to having the familiarity of the home mound, and it's the one that you're going to spend half your starts on, and you kind of get used to it, and you make it your own. And I think it's interesting sometimes, whether it's divisional or it's National League, and we do the home and away, and then maybe you go there in the playoffs, like how mounds kind of change over the season. And I mean, yeah, they all definitely have a different feel, but I think there's some that stand out. There's some that guys probably don't like, or it doesn't feel good to them, or whatever it is. But yeah, I think it's across the board. I mean, most of them, they do a really good job of the upkeep, and yeah.
All right, well, we did favorite mound. Now we got to do the real hard-hitting question, which is, what was your favorite pitcher to watch growing up? Now, I know this is an important question, so if you guys need time to think about it, because I'm putting you on the spot, but if there was one pitcher you could pick that was your absolute favorite to watch when you were growing up a baseball fan. I assume you guys are baseball fans, right? You're baseball players, so I feel like that's a safe assumption.
I would say it was Scherzer for me. Every time like he would throw, I'd make it like kind of like Mom, I'm staying up. I'm gonna watch Scherzer pitch tonight. So it was being able to his consistency. Just every time he went on the mound, you knew what you were gonna get. Somebody also for me was Jose Fernandez when he was still with the Marlins. He was really there was a lot of times where Marlins Park would not be packed, but it would be packed when he was throwing, and there was a reason for that because he can control the crowd, he controls the game, did a really good job, really just on every asset of the game when he was throwing. So those are two guys for me that I looked up to.
Pedro Martinez for me.
Great pick.
Yep. Reliever, probably Eric Gagne.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the at bat with him and Barry Bonds was wild. Those are probably my two growing up.
I think early on in life, I loved watching Pettit as a lefty. He was just very consistent. He always went out there every fifth day, controlling the running game, which I think is a huge aspect. I think he was just a very complete pitcher for me to watch. And then when Kershaw came around, just watching what he did from such a young age, and the dominant run that he's had for so many years now, he was a lot of fun to watch as well coming up.
Johan Santana has always been my guy. Lefty, changeup, ticked all the boxes. So big fan of his. And then, as I got older, loved watching Tim Lincecum, Strasburg, Darvish. I would watch hours and hours of YouTube videos on these guys and just try to mimic mechanics or just, get inspired and all these different things. So, a lot of great pitchers have come through this game, and those are some of my favorites.
Great answers, boys. I'm going to let you guys go. One last question before we let you guys go. How excited are you guys to get back out there for 2025?
Extremely. I love the off season, but I'm excited to get back with the boys and run this thing back. So 2025 is going to be an awesome year.
Yeah, agreed. I think I like having the shorter off season. I think it's nice playing a little deeper into October. And it feels like, you kind of take a break when it's all over, and then you kind of start ramping it up again. And it's nice to feel like we're kind of right around the corner, like Sean said, from just getting back with each other and getting back to work and starting a fresh new journey.
I think we all get to a point in the off season too where it's like, all right, I'm bored. Let's.
I'm there.
Yeah, I think we're all there too. So I think we're all really excited to get going again.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Was tasted success last year too. Just being able to build off of that. I think we got a lot of confidence as a team, as a group. Just excited to get back out there and hang out with the guys and go out and compete.
Guys, a round of applause for our guys here. Sean Manaea, Christian Scott Reed, Garrett, David Peterson. Enjoy the rest of Amazing Day. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff going on. I'm sure you guys will see these guys popping around for the rest of the day, but thank you so much. That was Pitching 201. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff, Sean. Pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure, guys. Pleasure.
Thank you.